if I had to compare it to anything, I would think of it to the Einsatztruppen being sent in to kind of, clean up the place, in the literal sense of the word, the ethnic cleansing kind of clean up the place. So what they've been doing, the Israelis, for the last days in Jabalia refugee camp is that they've been really systematically just kind of going through and executing, bombing, just really wiping the place out. And you have to understand, you've got Jabalia, and then you've got Jabalia refugee camp inside of it. And they've not only cut off northern Gaza from southern Gaza, but inside of northern Gaza, they've cut off Jabalia camp from the rest of Jabalia, okay? And then Jabalia itself from the rest of northern Gaza, if that makes sense. I'll try and pull up a map as we're going through it, but it's done on purpose, and it's basically like, a grid search, except you're doing a grid search and destroy, right? Really, I mean, look at this. Just look at the videos of it. Looks like colorized footage of Berlin in 1945, except, you had people who were actually fighting in Berlin in 1945. You had armies against armies. It wasn't just, there's one army and then they're like flattening a bunch of civilians. You understand the difference. I suppose Warsaw Ghetto would be more of more of a correct comparison. Yeah. Lo and behold, look what Ahmed writes. The annihilation of Gaza Strip by the Israeli barbarians is quite similar to that of Warsaw by Nazi Germany. Do they not look similar? So, this is from one of the men who is there, and I'll play the video for you. Listen.
The ground invasion, the situation in the northern parts of the Gaza Strip is very dangerous, especially in the cities of Jabalia, Beit Hanun and Beit Lahia, as these three cities have been under a brutal Israeli ground invasion during the past 9 days. During these days, the Israeli occupation forces have killed more than 300 people and they wounded more than 500 others. Bodies of more than 80 martyrs are scattered in the streets due to the inability of collecting them, as there is no fuel for ambulances and volunteers are unable to reach these places due to the heavy Israeli bombardment and quadcopter shooting. There is no water, no food, no fuel, no communication. The people there are starving and facing death from the Israeli bombing and from the starvation and the lack of medical services. The situation is very hard, as hospitals, there are 3 hospitals there which are partially operational, are facing the danger of shutdown because of the lack of fuel.
Let me continue on that note and read you. This is from Al Jazeera. So this is from one of their main correspondents in Gaza. It says many of the casualties are children and women. Here you can see on screen. Yeah, many of the casualties are children and women, and they are arriving at the hospital either in pieces or soaked in blood. According to Al Jazeera correspondent, to one Al Jazeera correspondent and Doctors Without Borders, Israeli snipers have been killing people trying to flee despite having issued evacuation orders. So they tell you to flee, and when you flee, they kill you. Some residents have decided to stay, not trusting the Israeli designated humanitarian safe zones that it attacked anyway. Israel's assaults have killed at least 200 people over the past week in the north, according to the head of the Palestinian Health Ministry. I saw a video of him, by the way, on Al Jazeera Arabic, where he was crying. It says tens of thousands of families remain besieged inside the Jabalia camp, while UNRWA say some 400,000 people are trapped in the north. Okay, so if you look up at the map here that Al Jazeera have drawn, you see this is what's referred to the north of Gaza, right? And Jabalia refugee camp is, I mean, you know, it's really a killing zone. And I pause on the name because this is a refugee camp, But these are people that have been, you know, living as refugees from one generation to the next. So I think that's lost on people a lot of the times. They'll say the name, but they don't really understand why it's called that, right? And you have tons more refugee camps, right, all across. I mean, in Gaza, right, Nuseirat and so on, and it's crazy because you've got people that have been displaced since 1948. They became refugees, then the children become refugees, then the children's children are also refugees, and then they not only keep the refugee status, but they are again once more internally displaced inside of Palestine, because they literally still are refugees, but now they've just become refugees a second time. I think that was important to point out, even though it's not, you know, it's not proper to this massacre itself, but when you're telling people, you know, as you can see on the left, grab your stuff and go, and then while you're complying with the order, we're going to shoot at you anyway. It's kind of like, well, people already did this once before. They did it in 1948, and you still shot at a lot of them, right? And many times over in the course of the last year, they've been, you know, picking up the stuff, going one place, then they get told, no, you have to evacuate to this place. I mean, it's a never-ending game. You know, once you do it with the Israelis, once you accept the evacuation orders, you'll never stop evacuating, right? Because they're not evacuation orders. It's more akin to a terrorist threat, isn't it? When you spend 3 generations, I mean, forget one lifetime, 3 generations living like this. Jesus, you know? Back to the latest atrocity, which is, you know, taking place again right now inside of Jabalia camp. Medical crews and ambulances are also reportedly being hit. And here we ask Gideon Levy, what does Israel want? To occupy Gaza? What does Gideon Levy say? So he tells Al Jazeera the goal of the Israeli government appears to be to ethnically cleanse the north of Gaza by expelling all the Palestinians. Okay? So again, if we look at, if I show you the map, okay? If I show you the map, look at the top of Gaza, what we're talking about. Okay? See what pops up? Got Jabalia, so Jabalia camp, and then Jabalia. And so north of Gaza is all of this. So they want to push all these 400,000 people down south. And even for the last year, I mean, if you've been stuck in northern Gaza, you've fared the worst of it, right? It's really been the worst in the north. Either way. And now they just made it a whole lot worse. You get me? Now they just made it a whole lot worse. So Gideon says Israel would like to see the northern part of Gaza empty of all its Palestinian inhabitants. Now we come back to what many Israelis have made no secret of, right? Making space to build settlements. Yes? I mean, it's really messed up, and I'm looking at some of these images here to show you, but some of them are really too graphic. You've got bodies piled up on top of bodies, you know, just the only light is coming out of the tanks and the bulldozers. I mean, it's really, really screwed up. But some of the tweets that journalists have been writing there, I mean, look at this. Look at this one, for example. Okay. A number of my cousins among this night's martyrs. He tweeted this 13 minutes ago. 4 people were killed and 16 others injured in an Israeli bombing of a house in Jabalia refugee camp. Okay. I won't read the others, but you can see them on the screen just so we can focus on Jabalia. Okay. But look just look at the others. Just read them off of your screen. Okay. There's a colleague of his was killed 16 hours ago in Jabalia refugee camp. Look at the Israelis also going around and trashing the food, right? If the killing isn't bad enough, look at them trashing the food. Look at how they behave with the food.
תודה רבה על התרומה שנתתם לנו, הג'יהאד האסלאמי. כמה דם על הסכין, כמה דם, אח שלי היקר.
So they're going around house to house and kind of just destroying all the food, any semblance of aid they can find. I mean, and they're doing their usual thing where they put on women's clothes and or girls' clothes and
המודד?
תראה את הבטן, יוצא לו הבטן.
מה אתם אומרים? הוורוד יותר יפה לך.
נראה לי הוורוד יעשה לך ככה טוב.
ככה. תראה, לך על הוורוד ותוסיף לו אחד כזה מלפנים.
מה
so again, there's some of these videos. I'm not quite sure if I can show anything, but I'll show you. It's a man holding a dead child in his hands. But I'll show you this one from Anwar. Look at this. Look at the. It's just been burnt down. This is the health center in Jabalia. Okay. Again, a UN building. The logo is right there at the top. It's black from the smoke. This was posted just yesterday by the UN, by UNRWA. You got bodies in the street. I mean, if you took this and it looks like Warsaw Ghetto. It just looks like Warsaw Ghetto. If you hid the left half of the photo so you couldn't tell, and you made it black and white so you couldn't tell who it was from and what period, and just saw the bodies with the holes, you'd probably guess, and you wouldn't be too far off, right? So this is what is going on in the camp, in Jabalia refugee camp. It's like, bit by bit, they're systematically just wiping the place out. This is a small refugee camp, just if you look at the, over the years, it's grown into a town, right? I mean, what is it? It's like 1.5 square kilometers in size. 1.5 square kilometers. It's minuscule. It's minuscule. And then I see this thing, which is really funny, from CNN. And again, you look at the way that they write this. And the headline says, "No food has entered northern Gaza since the start of October, putting 1 million people at risk of going hungry." Hold on, what do you mean no food has entered? Because, again, why am I bringing this up? Because obviously when people are, the ones that are being killed in Jabalia, who are in the north, they've had it the worst. Out of everyone in Gaza, they've had it the worst. And that's really saying something, right? But why would you write "no food has entered northern Gaza," like as if the food has legs, or the food got lost, the food went bad? What do you mean no food entered Gaza? What, I mean, you mean Israel is blocking food from entering Gaza? That's another way to write the headline. Or you could say Israel has been blocking food from entering Gaza every single day since October 1st. Since you want to put the date in there. I mean, I don't understand this kind of writing. This passive, rubbish, garbage language. Because yeah, people are starving. People are definitely starving in Jabalia, most of all, right? But why would you write it this way? It's so, again, can't quite put my finger on it. But it sounds like, someone trying to hide what's going on. Dishonest. And of course, there's no mention of Jabalia. Weird. I can't find anything about Jabalia. They just mentioned northern Gaza. What about Jabalia especially? Because of the killing that's going on, right? This is published October 11th. What about there specifically? Why won't, or put it this way, right? Forget the killing, the executions and the bodies laying in the street like this. Forget that. Forget that. Let's talk really just about food, okay? Just about food. Why not squarely lay the blame with Israel? No one else controls the crossings. It's not a lack of food, a lack of donations from around the world. No. It's not because Gaza is arid, it can't it can't grow anything. It's not because people in Gaza refuse the food and are saying take it back. It's not because people in Gaza have no appetite. It's not because there was a hurricane that just appeared in the Mediterranean and just like swept all of the food away. Why is there no food entering? Why won't you name Israel? Why is Israel not mentioned anywhere? It's not in the headline, okay? And you're saying, I mean, it's pretty serious, right? Because you admit 1 million are at risk of starvation. 1 million, right? So obviously it's very serious. I can't see. Israel's not here. What do I hear? No. Still can't see Israel. Nope. Is Israel here? No. Israel's not. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's not in the headline, not in the subheading. It's like, they just want to mask it as much as possible. I don't think that's honest. I think it's extremely dishonest. I think this is like reading a shady contract or something. I feel I'm being cheated, and I'm not even the one in Jabalia. I'm not even the one in Gaza, and I feel cheated. How can you not mention this? Something really off. Really, really off. Really off. With the way that these people report, or call this reporting. You know what I mean? So you have yesterday I saw a video. I don't know if I bookmarked it actually. I don't know if I bookmarked it, but it really now that I think of it, I think the guy really was. I think he really was in Jabalia. And I'm going to look that video up and I'm going to see if I'm going to find it. And you're going to give me a second here to just kind of... This is one of the images I was talking about, by the way. This one. This is just creepy as hell. See that? So this is from a journalist. He says, as I understand from my colleagues in Jabalia, the situation is unlike anything they've ever experienced. Dozens of bodies scattered across the streets. It smells death all over. Residents refuse to be displaced. Food nearly depleted. No medical services available. And you see that the only light coming out of there, with the exception of that window, but you know, there's no street lighting, nothing. It's the bulldozers and the tanks at night. I mean, it's a slaughter. It's a slaughter. It's really a slaughter. But I could have sworn that video I saw yesterday was from one guy standing in Jabalia, and he was saying basically, you know, just we don't want you to feel upset and we don't want you to feel sad, but do something. Just say something. Do anything. Even one video. Just share a video. Anything at all, you know? And I know it sounds like such a simple message. I know it sounds like so cliche or something, but I don't know, the way that it was in Arabic. So I'm trying to find the place where I bookmarked it. I'll get to it eventually, but the way he said it, and then right after that I saw the you know, the burning, the footage from Al-Aqsa Hospital, the burning, and that was really a lot. That was a lot. In any case, well, I guess that video was more for me to interpret. I'm still looking for the link, but anyway, I'll find it and we'll look at it together later. But again, there's not much more we can do. Just to go back to that man's point, than to kind of, you know, talk about what's happening and raise people's, well, just raise attention and open people's eyes, because I don't hear this you know, this being mentioned anywhere, and this has been going on for over a week now. It's been going on for over a week. This butchering in Jabalia camp. You look at that image and you remember that image well. I want you to. I want it to be burned into your minds. I mean, not you specifically, because it's not like you've done anything wrong with the way that I just said it. But you know, still, you know, as the saying goes, I want it to be burned into your minds. Here it is. I found it. I found the video.
الدبابات واليهود آخر الشارع هذا. أنا في نقطة خطيرة. آخر الشارع هذا. آخر الصفطاوي. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل على كل شخص بتطلع علينا. أنت قادر أقل ما فيها إنك تنصرنا ولو بفيديو، بكلمة، بفيديو صغير على صفحتك. الناس اللي بيقول عن حالهم أنا مشاهير، وين أنتوا من شمال غزة؟ يا أخوان، شمال غزة لأول مرة بنمر في ظروف زي هيك. اتقوا الله فينا. احنا مش طالبين منكم، اللي بتقدروا عليه اعملوه. انشروا فيديوهات، اعملوا هاشتاجات، اعملوا اي اشي. احنا هنا بنضيع. مش عارف ايش اتكلم واحكي لكم اكتر من هيك. بتشوفوا على شاشات التلفاز وبتعملوا حالكم مش شايفين. انا ما بدي تعيط علي، ولا بدي تزعل علي، ولا بدي تزعل علينا. اعمل اي شيء بتقدر عليه. لو هاشتاج عملته ممكن تغيره باذن الله سبحانه وتعالى. اهل شمال قطاع غزة مئات من شمال قطاع غزة في جباليا، مئات محاصرين في بيوتهم، ما عندهم اكل، ما عندهم مية. بناشدوا الناس وبناشدوا العالم وبناشدوا الصليب الاحمر يدخلوا لهم اكل، يدخلوا لهم شرب. في ناس متصوبين ما حدش قادر يروح يطلعهم.
I don't know why, but that video just stuck with me, you know? I don't know. Anyway, we'll end on that note. I think we'll end on that note for this segment.